By the time that we were putting this material together, the first question that came to mind as we were looking at initiating, starting the material was, are you awake? But that is such, I think that is such an unfair question. I guess that the right question would be, how awake are you? I mean, this is a simple question. I guess that this is a question that everybody can clearly understand. I mean, every day we wake up, we go about our daily routine, we go to work, we eat, we sleep. And every morning, every time we open those eyes, we just continue repeating the same cycle. We go through a myriad of emotions and experiences during the day. And we tend to believe that we are conscious because we can think, because we can feel, because we can take some actions during the day. And yet, as we look at the chaos that is surrounding us today, and we put in perspective the beautiful experiences of the ancient sages, the real awakened ones, I mean, all of these great masters have told us humanity is asleep. And they are encouraging us to make a very specific change. I mean, they're not saying that you're asleep in the physical plane, even though it is like crystal clear that people tend to move from here to there, and they are like in a constant state of daydreaming. But what they mean is in the state of a deep sleep of the consciousness, where people are just bound to always repeating the same mechanical reactions, always getting distracted with the same things. They are captive in their own habits and their desires and their fears. And we keep going about life just living, but without really seeing reality as it really is, without understanding ourselves, without really knowing who we are. And I guess that we're here tonight because there is another way. Because across all of the world's great spiritual traditions, back from the ancient Egyptian initiates to the mystics of the East, from the wise shamans of the Americas to the hidden teachings of early Christianity, in all of those traditions, there has always been a secret path. And that path happens to be a path of awakening. So I guess the question is, how awake are you? How much of your day are you spending dreaming? I mean, if these questions stir something within you, in your ear, I guess that there is a magnetic center within you that is active. Something within you is actually asking for more. It is seeking for some truth, for some understanding of what that indicates, if nothing else, is that you are right there at the threshold of that path. Friends, tonight we're going to explore some of the sacred knowledge of Gnosis. This is an ancient wisdom that has guided seekers for millennia, and it is a delight for us to be here with you tonight. Dear friends, my name is Rick Santana. Thank you so much for joining us this evening to this, your channel, Gnosis, Arizona. And our topic tonight is ancient wisdom for... Let's go ahead and start by maybe saying, I guess that this would be a perfect, beautiful meme opportunity. I mean, what if I told you that the wisdom that can help transform your life has always been within you? I mean, what if I told you that not only this is not your first life, but that you have had the opportunity to come across this wisdom, or that you have already come across this wisdom many times before, that you have a vast trove of knowledge within you. And all that we have to do is go back and awaken those parts within you. Eliminate anything that is creating those distractions and those barriers inside of you so that this can flourish. I mean, we have a beautiful opportunity in our hands. Let's go ahead and start talking a little bit about this thing called ancient wisdom. Let me tell you what Samael Aun Weor says about this thing called ancient wisdom. Specific to this, we hear him say, this universal wisdom is always the same. Only its aspects will change according to the peoples, their nations, and their languages. This is so pervasive that if you are familiar with the story of creation, that perhaps with a Christian background or a Muslim background, it really doesn't matter which is that deep, profound, mystical background. I guess that the next story is going to sound fairly familiar to you because of the many commonalities. Let's take a look at one of those beautiful examples of ancient traditions, of very wise cultures, and let's look at the Popol Vuh, which is the sacred writings of the Maya. And in the Popol Vuh, the story of creation says, there were 6 deities covered in feathers, including the feathered serpent Kukulkan. They helped Huracan create the earth. And they planted a tall ceiba with roots in the 9 underworlds, and its branches extended above in the 13 heavens. Deities created man from mud, but they had no souls and destroyed them in a great flood, a universal flood. The sky and the earth back then existed, but there was no sun or no moon. And the vain 7 macaw claimed to be the sun and the moon, but this was not true. And the twins, Hunhunakpu, the master magician, and his brother Ixabalanque, Brujito, they defeated that bird with their darts. And they together descended into Chivalba, the underworld, and they rose to become the sun and the moon. And then the deities creating men using white and yellow corn. The symbols that appear here tell a very vast story. And these are all symbols that you find not only in the story of creation, but in the sacrifice of the great master of masters as he gave his life and descended into the underworld. Notice how in the story of the Maya, we find symbols that resonate within and are things that sound familiar. Let's look, for example, at this other thing as the serpent, because we know that the serpent appears in the Garden of Eden as a source of temptation, but the serpent is also a symbol of wisdom and a symbol of healing. In this collage, you can see Hygeia. Look at the top right corner. She is the Greek goddess of health. And notice how Hygeia, as a representation of the eternal divine feminine, she is holding on to a serpent and nourishing it. On the left-hand side, observe the shapes of Isis and Osiris, depicted as if they were serpents of wisdom. Look in the bottom right-hand corner, symbols of the mysteries of Mithra and Eleusis. We see these men who have become serpents. Notice their legs. They have been consumed by the serpent, a serpentine culture that transformed them. And look on the bottom left-hand corner. That serpent is Kukulkan, the same Kukulkan that is mentioned in the Popol Vuh that helps contribute into the story of creation. And that feathered serpent among the Maya, that is Kukulkan, for the Aztecs is known as Quetzalcoatl. And when they saw Kukulkan, when they saw Quetzalcoatl, the one thing that they embraced was not just the shape of the serpent, but in its meaning, its power as a cosmic principle, more so as a cosmic Christic principle. And these 4 images are from cultures that are separated by vast distances and significant amounts of time. So as you see the symbols, the teachings, they are the same. It is just that they are adapted to the needs of those people who are receiving it. And to this effect, Samael says, the basic principles of the great universal wisdom, they're always identical. They contain the same cosmic principles which are universal, and they are also impersonal. To us, this is such a blessing, because that means that it does not matter what is your ray of creation. It does not matter if you're from the Asian ray or the Egyptian ray or the Atlantean ray. It does not matter if you have strong affinity with the serpentine wisdom or the hermetic wisdom. It does not matter if your interest is in the magic of nature, if it is in alchemy, the symbols continue being the same. Because the goal of all of these doctrines is consistently the same one, which is the transformation of man. And what exists behind that is this thing that is called Gnosis. What is this thing called Gnosis? It is a universal, pervasive, permanent, eternal philosophy. Gnosis in reality is not a religion. People tend to think that Gnosis is a religion, but it is not. To the contrary, Gnosis is the wisdom that stands at the very foundation of all of the world's great religions. And this is why the symbols are the same. This is why the teachings are the same. It is just that they are delivered in a way that is slightly different to satisfy the needs and the idiosyncrasies of those cultures. But why is it that people refer to it as if it were a religion? Well, it is because they do not truly understand this concept of religion. Because they tend to see religion only as if it were a combination of mystical practices and rituals and adorations and prayers. Look, there is of that in so many different aspects of life. But specific to religion, this religion thing, it comes from an ancient Latin root word that is religare. And religare in Latin, it means to unite, to bring back together. Religare means to bond, and that is the same as yoga. I mean, most people don't realize it, but we're just happy that we have the opportunity to share this. Religare and yoga, the same thing, because yoga comes from the Proto-Indo-European roots, yug, and yug means union. So whether we're speaking in terms of yoga or we're speaking in terms of religion, we are speaking of the same thing, and that is to bring back together. We're speaking about reuniting what? Something that exists within us, inside of us, that is longing for an awakening and a transformation. To bring that internal aspect of us and unite it once again with the source from which it emerged. And of course, because that source is a superior source, because that source is divine in nature, the mode of operation of Gnosis is to give us the opportunity to be assisted by powers that are indeed superior to the mind. Here we are not relying on the intellect. We are not relying on analytical capabilities and none of our faulty logic. What we are seeking here is to give an opportunity to the consciousness, so that the consciousness, in its process of awakening, can put to use its instinctive faculties, which is the clear perception of the cosmic truths without relying on comparative processes of the mind. Giving an opportunity to the consciousness to operate is crucial. But for us to get to that level, we must embrace that teaching of Thales of Miletus, as he stamped it on the stone at that temple of Delphi. Gnosis te ipsum, Man, know thyself, and you will know the universe, and you will know the gods. We must make an effort to know what is that lurks in those areas that our intellect cannot detect. We must learn to see and perceive, comprehend those inferior aspects of us that keep us distracted, that keep us daydreaming, that maintain us bound to this constant repeating of daily life. And because Gnosis has a clear mode of operation, because Gnosis is seeking to give us the opportunity so that we can know ourselves, there is much that we will start discovering, not only in our own internal, individual, and particular aspects, but also there are many questions that you and I have had that are suddenly going to start getting answered to a great degree of satisfaction. And as that knowledge becomes available, the more of it we can start capturing, the greater the responsibility that is bestowed on us to transform it from knowledge to wisdom, because there's a big difference between one and the other. I mean, knowledge is accumulation of information. But beyond that accumulation of information, knowledge has to do with that understanding. For that understanding to exist, there has to be some kind of contemplation. There has to be the ability to perceive. So in a way, we are observing and we are studying. And as we move along, well, the basis of knowledge ends up being what you know, what you can interpret, what you can analyze, how things start fitting logically in your thought patterns, and to some degree, how you can use it. But even though you can use it, does not mean that you have wisdom. For us to have wisdom, we must seek opportunities to apply that knowledge, and apply that knowledge consciously. It is applying the knowledge not only to life as we know it, but also in our interactions within ourselves, with our spouse, with our children, with our neighbors, with our community, with our nation, with the planet, with the universe. And we must use this wisdom in something that maybe we can speak right now, we could refer to as good judgment. Because every time that we apply wisdom, it must satisfy the criteria of being honorable, of being constructive, of helping edify, and when not edifying, to wisely help eliminate that which does not truly contribute. And this requires of some degree of conscious discernment. For all practical purposes, knowledge has to do with what you have learned, what you have memorized, what you can kind of apply, and wisdom is intimately associated with the things in which you have reflected, where you have seen the ability to apply that knowledge and to effectively lead to a transformation. More so, the transformation of man. Because what we have learned is that Gnosis, as a cosmic teaching, it seeks to lead us into the restitution of our ability to live consciously and to live intelligently. And if we were able to live conscious, we would not be reacting as we do. If we were able to be conscious, we would not have that hyper exposure that many of us have today to the news, to the social media, to the many other things that we have. And so, how is it that we can affect the transformation? Well, first of all, we have to understand what is our human condition. And we don't seek to look at the human condition that is individual and particular to each and every one of you listening. But we can perhaps take the teaching of Immanuel Kant when he says the exterior is a reflection of the interior. And we can look at the state of the world to understand how that is a reflection of our own psyche. Look, here are some examples. Here we have images of the Birmingham Civil Rights Movement back in 1963. It was about 60 years ago. We have some images here. The Battle of Mogadishu back in 1993. Maybe some of you never even saw that. Maybe some of you were so young that you did not get a chance to witness that. But in the year 2020, we went through the significant challenge of a global pandemic. For the last 2,000 years as a humanity, we have not yet had a single day of peace in the whole world. And that is a good indication on what is the internal state of each and every one of us. But the great masters, in their infinite love and infinite compassion, they make this wisdom available. And they make it freely available every time that we as a humanity are facing times of crisis and times of social and spiritual unrest. And that is exactly what we have been experiencing for the last 50 or 60 years. And thus, we have now this wisdom available so that we can bring it within and change. But how can we change if we don't know who we are? This question of who are we, I guess that this is a question that has been puzzling man for many thousands of years. Look, in terms of who is that we are, we can start by saying that we are a triad. A triad is a group of three, a trinity. We are a triad of a body and a soul and a personality. A body, a soul, and a personality. But allow us to tell you this. The thing is that even though we are here as an energetic being within this vehicle of flesh, we have more than one body. Because our physical body cannot exist by itself, just like that. Our physical body has an ethereal body counterpart that is responsible for the biological, the chemical processes, the processes that are reflective, the processes that are luminous within the body itself. The ability to think and analyze, the ability to perceive, all of those is influenced, governed by the ethereal body. And understanding this, we can start then perceiving that there are forces that exist within each and every one of us. That because we have more than one body, a physical body in the dense realm of substance, and subtle bodies in superior realms of creation, we have abilities, powers, virtues that are latent, and they can manifest, but only in exchange of our ability to eliminate our inferior nature. And so, if we can see that we are not just this cluster of cells and bones and fluids, but that we are a combination of body, soul, and personality, that we are an energetic entity within this physical vehicle so that we can express and exchange with this environment, then we give ourselves an opportunity to understand that challenges, ordeals, and difficult circumstances, they are all gifts. Because if we must start discovering what exists within us, what is it that is inhumane and barbaric within our mind and our emotions and our impulses, etc. Well, as we observe how we think and how we feel, how we behave when we're going through difficult circumstances, through the challenging moments of life, that slowly starts leading us into the awakening of the consciousness. And of course, that brings us into this thing, the concept of awakening. I mean, I guess that we could tell you what that is, but maybe it's better if we tell you what awakening is not, so that we can start scratching things from our mind, because there may be many concepts that we have defined for ourselves about this thing that is awakening. Maybe we believe someone who lied to us in the past. Okay, so let's start looking at what is it that awakening is not. Because in his writings in the book Revolutionary Psychology, Samael Aun tells us to awaken is not to read books. Awakening is not accumulating knowledge. It is not repeating phrases of sages. That is not awakening. Anybody can do that. I mean, we can memorize hundreds, if not thousands of verses of any sacred book, of any Bible. and still be cruel to others and make no internal change. So accumulating that knowledge makes no difference. We can read as many books of internal transformation as we want, but if there's nothing that we do to put into effect that work, nothing happens. We could post in our social media as many quotes of the great masters as we want. And if the only thing that they do is give us a fraction of an instant of inspiration and nothing else, then nothing is really going to change. I mean, awakening, what is not awakening? Samael says, those who believe that awakening is acquiring paranormal faculties, they are mistaken. The true awakening is the awakening of the soul, not the ego. So any one of us who may have been going from school to school, from book to book, going from one group to the other, seeking to acquire paranormal faculties, telekinesis, hypnotism, to be telepathic, to clairvoyant, clairaudient, etc., etc. If we're just seeking to awaken faculties, we're not making any difference. We're not making any change either. Because awakening is not the developing of abilities. Awakening is not even developing the power of the chakras. It is not. But, listen to this, when we awaken the soul, when we start working intently with that consciousness and we start awakening the soul, the creative powers that exist within you, and that together with the fire of Kundalini that exists within you, that by itself, in harmony, starts granting powers to the chakras. And then you have an awakened individual with superior faculties. Now we have an individual who is responsible enough to deal with those superior senses, with those superior powers, with those abilities. And that is what we're seeking. To awaken, Samael tells us, is to break the chains of the ego and the subconscious. To awaken is to enter the world of that which is real. This is why he tells us in the book, The Mystery of the Golden Blossom, to break the chains of the ego and the subconscious, to free up the consciousness that has been trapped in all of our bad habits, in all of our cruelties, in every inferior aspect within. That is the process of awakening. Actually, he even says in the Treatise of Revolutionary Psychology, the true human being is the one who has awakened consciousness. The sleeping one is an automaton, a program machine, a puppet of external influences. Seeking powers, seeking faculties, that is too superficial. Powers, faculties, virtues, abilities, bodies, laws crystallize within the soul as we start awakening the consciousness, as we start eliminating from within us everything that is inferior and inhumane. And for us to learn this, there is a hidden foundation of Gnosis. This occult foundation of Gnosis is what we seek to offer with all of you. And this occult foundation is based on 4 pillars. The 4 pillars of Gnosis give us enough wisdom so that we can apply this knowledge into our daily life. And those 4 pillars are the pillars of science, philosophy, art, and mysticism. I mean, when we're speaking science here, well, we're not speaking about labs. We're not speaking about experiments in a lab, because the mind will tend to bring in some very immediate images. No, when we're speaking here about science, we're speaking about understanding the phenomena of nature by virtue of its causes and effects. It is through science, through the understanding of the chains of causes and effects, that we start comprehending the mind, the consciousness, and these flows of energy. And Gnosis teaches us how to do that. But Gnosis also gives us philosophy. Philosophy is the love for wisdom. But here, in particular, Gnosis will move us away from the space of being told what to think into the space of knowing how to think. It will give us the ability to exploit the art of questioning and seeking truth by inquiring, analyzing, reflecting, comprehending. This is how it leads us into the space of knowing how to think. And through the pillar of art being the spiritual expression of a higher consciousness, we will start then becoming able to identify the symbols. Symbols that we may see engraved in stones left behind by ancient cultures, but also the symbols that come to us in our dreams. Symbols that are deposited in our superior emotional and superior intellectual centers by our being, by the great masters. And through that degree of understanding, see the warnings of potential issues that stand and await us. See develop the ability to navigate through the challenges, circumstances of life, and do so in a way that not only we can be successful, but that those who are with us benefit from all of the work. And the last pillar is the pillar of mysticism. These mystical practices invite us into having a direct experience with the divine. This is what we find in these four pillars. And by the application of what we learn, how to think, and the love for wisdom, and the maximum expressions of the consciousness through art, etc., we start awakening the consciousness. We start absorbing of this wisdom, seeing ourselves as we truly are, and working with forces that are superior to the mind so that we can continue making progress in a path of inner transformation. We are here to offer you the content of these four different pillars in a series of different sessions where we will speak of so many different topics. Like, for example, we will speak about Hermetic astrology. But this is not the astrology that you will find in a horoscope at the back of a cosmopolitan magazine. No. Speaking of Hermetic astrology, we will learn about the archetypal influences of the planets and the intelligences that exist in the great beings that are the soul of the planets themselves. We will learn about our internal urgency. That internal urgency is derived from your name and from your date of birth. Internal urgencies that will give you what is your characteristic influence throughout life. Some people will have a numeric internal urgency of something like a number 3. And that characteristic influence throughout their life is going to be telling them that throughout their life, they must make the greatest efforts so that everything that they do in thought and action and sentiment is an expression of beauty, that is aesthetically pleasing, that is harmonious, like everything in creation. People who have an internal urgency of 6, they will go through their lives realizing that it is of vital importance for them to make use of their willpower to be decisive, to not be distracted, lured by passions and temptations. People who have an internal urgency of number 8, they learn that they must live life in a way that is serene, patient, that they must learn to embrace ordeals, challenges, tests, the many pains that life gives. And this is something that we can learn. You will even learn about the fundamental tone. A fundamental tone that is also determined by your name, by your date of birth. And this is a special characteristic that is going to help you, enable you to be triumphant in life. I mean, these are elements that from the realm of the numbers. They are like an astrological number associated with the day that you were born and with the name that you have been given. We will learn about astrological times so that you can plan your events and make use of these cosmic forces in a way that enable you to be as successful as you can be. And you will see about the influences of karma, of decisiveness, of times to retreat and be patient, warnings of propitious and sinister friends in your relationships. All of this you will learn through Hermetic astrology. And even better, you will learn to see yourself reflected in the mirror that is everyone else around us. We're also going to speak about the development of the personality, on how the archetypal influences of the planets help structure and cement your personality. You will learn about how to find your vocation. What is it? What is that activity, that thing that you can do that you are so good at that moves you, but that you get to do it because you are propelled, moved forward by the longing of your being. We will understand how need and greed hinder our spiritual work. And we will learn everything that we can learn on how is it that we can learn how to listen. Not only so that we can learn to listen to what others are saying and extract the wisdom, extract the key messages from between the lines, but also learn how to listen to the voice of the silence, the voice of the innermost within each and every one of us. To that effect, we will cover a lot about the science of meditation. And we will speak about the purpose of meditation, the rules of meditation, the ability to clear the mind, the opportunity to have moments of serene reflection. And we will even share with you the jewels of the golden dragon. And these are particular keys that you can use to dominate the mind so that the mind is no longer enslaving you with its distractions. I mean, it is so common to see many sincere people who they really want to sit down and meditate, and they can't. Their mind is not calm, and they can sit down for 20 minutes, and after an hour, they're still sitting down, but they're there with their eyes closed. Nothing really has happened. And we have here not only the technique, but the science of meditation to share with you. We will also speak of Kabbalah, and we will speak of the science of numbers so that you can see what is the meaning of numbers themselves. What do numbers represent in your life? And we will also go in depth about the tree of life. We will visit each and every one of those 10 spheres. And for those of you who choose to go into the advanced levels of study, we will dedicate many weeks so that you can truly understand the 22 arcana of the tarot, the 22 major mysteries of the tarot that lead you in the path of initiation. Friends, we will speak about the effect of cosmic energies in the psyche. So we will speak about cosmic laws. We'll speak about cosmic laws like the law of return, the law of recurrence. We will speak about the effect of the forces of nature and the cosmos in the human psyche, the process of the transmigration of the soul. We will speak of our colobus. We will speak of the rings of Alcyone. We will speak about cosmic events that come to us, well, as part of the mechanic of the celestial mechanics of nature. And we will also speak about chakras. We will discuss the faculties associated with each chakra, whether it is clairvoyance or clairaudience, intuition, inspiration, telepathy. We will cover all of that. We will show how is it that these chakras connect from fifth dimension of nature directly into the physical body and how they deposit their energies into our endocrine system. We will speak of the spirit of nature, the elementals that exist within the elements, the forces that govern life. And for those of you who walk into the advanced levels of study, we will also cover magic with the elemental forces of nature. And we will also speak about astral unfoldment. We will share with you at least 30 different keys that you can use so that you can unfold consciously in your astral body. And we will also speak about jinn states and how is it that the physical body has the ability to penetrate into superior dimensions of nature. Friends, we share this with you because we would like you to join us on this path. We plan on coming back every Friday with a new session, sharing with you as much wisdom as we can possibly share so that you can embrace it, so that you can put it to the test and in your way to develop your ability to think your best, so that you can put this into practice, so that you can determine for yourself, is this what you have been looking for or not? Dear friends, this is what we wanted to share with you today. A little bit of the ancient wisdom that applies so well to our modern world. Thank you so much for being here with us. We wish for you a great week, and may all beings be happy.